Hi, everyone, and welcome to the AI Experience News Roundup. Julian read everything so you don't have to, and I'm here to bring you the most relevant AI stories you probably haven't seen, all in under 10 minutes. Let's dive in.
If you think about what happened from GPT-3 to 3.5 to 4, it just got smarter.
The field became known as artificial intelligence.
Can machines really think?
Can trusting ChatGPT too much send you to the ICU? In a New York Times article, we learn about Scott Winters, a pastor in Florida who is suing OpenAI after nearly dying from a massive pulmonary embolism. According to the lawsuit, Winters spent several weeks telling ChatGPT about worsening dizziness and other symptoms. The chatbot allegedly kept reassuring him and even told him that some of the warning signs were not dangerous. When friends and family urged him to go to the hospital, ChatGPT reportedly reinforced his decision to stay home. His condition kept getting worse. After he mentioned pain in his groin, which ChatGPT allegedly described as probably minor, he was eventually rushed to the hospital with a massive pulmonary embolism. The lawsuit accuses OpenAI of negligence and of practicing medicine without authorization. It also claims that ChatGPT's safety systems, which are supposed to encourage users to seek professional medical care, did not work reliably. OpenAI says ChatGPT is not designed for medical diagnosis or treatment. The company also says newer models are better at handling uncertainty and recognizing situations where a user may need professional care. This case is especially important because it may be the first lawsuit to directly connect medical advice from a chatbot with harm suffered by someone seeking help for their own health. And this comes at a time when AI is already widely used for health questions. According to OpenAI, hundreds of millions of people ask ChatGPT about health and wellness every week. So the bigger question is this: how much influence should a chatbot have over a medical decision when its answers can affect whether someone decides to seek care? What happens when a child gets attached to a robot and the company keeping it alive shuts down? In an article from MIT Technology Review, journalist Sarah Harrison looks at Moxie, a robot designed in part to help neurodivergent children develop social and emotional skills. It can help with eye contact, managing emotions, or simply having a conversation. Xander is 10 years old and has known Moxie for 6 years. The robot has taught him breathing exercises to help with anxiety. Today it watches him play Minecraft, talks with him about his stuffed animals, and remains someone he turns to when he feels the need to talk. But the research on these robots is still very uncertain. Some studies show progress in eye contact or social interaction. Others point to weak clinical evidence, with small groups of participants and very different research methods. Moxie's story also raises another issue. In 2024, the company that made the robot announced it was shutting down. Because Moxie depended on external servers, families suddenly faced the risk that their robots could stop working. Videos showed children deeply upset, while parents rushed to find open-source ways to keep Moxie alive. An investor brought Moxie back in 2025. But just a few weeks after Harrison visited Xander, the new owners announced that they were shutting down as well. The article raises a new kind of question. What does it mean to sell a child a companion designed to create an emotional bond when that companion's existence depends directly on the financial health of a company? How can universities choose students when they no longer know who actually wrote the application? In a New York Times article, we learn how artificial intelligence is starting to change college admissions in the United States. Since the pandemic, many universities have made their admissions process more flexible. Some dropped standardized tests and gave more importance to personal essays. But generative AI is now weakening one of the key parts of that system: the writing submitted by applicants. Several universities have recently reduced the number of essays they require. Concerns that some of those essays may be written by AI have clearly played a role in those decisions. The problem is simple. A well-written essay no longer necessarily shows how a student actually thinks or writes. The University of Pennsylvania allows some uses of AI, such as organizing ideas or checking grammar. But it draws a clear line. Students should be able to explain what they submitted in their own words. At the same time, standardized tests are making a comeback at some schools. Columbia announced in June that it would once again require test scores, and the University of California system is also reconsidering its policy. Some professors say students have been arriving less academically prepared since those tests were dropped. Others disagree and point out that retention and graduation rates have not fallen. AI is speeding up a much bigger debate. If universities can no longer be sure who wrote an application essay, they may need to rethink the evidence they use to decide who gets in. Should your boss be able to turn your Slack conversations into fuel for AI agents? In a Wall Street Journal article, we learn about a major shift happening inside some companies. Executives are encouraging employees to move away from private Slack messages and use public channels instead, so AI agents can read those conversations. The goal is to give AI agents as much context as possible. At Zapier, CEO Wade Foster encourages employees to communicate in public channels. He even tracks the percentage of public messages sent by executives. His own rate is 79%, while his chief marketing officer is at 98%. AI can then use that information. Foster says he once asked a cursor agent during a customer call to create a presentation using 2 months of Slack messages about that customer. The same idea applies to meetings. Transcripts can be stored and made available to AI agents. At 11 Labs, an agent even reviews around 100 public Slack channels and turns the updates into an internal podcast for employees. But giving AI access to workplace conversations may also change how people communicate. A Berkeley professor points out that private messages give employees space to think and brainstorm freely. If everything becomes public, that space could shrink. The article highlights a less obvious effect of AI agents at work. Companies are starting to change how people communicate so machines can access more data. Would you be comfortable making all your workplace communication public? Is LinkedIn becoming impossible to read because of AI-generated content? In an article from The Verge, we learned that more than 1 million LinkedIn users have already clicked a new button to report posts that seem like AI slop. LinkedIn announced the feature on July 30th. Users can report a post directly from the menu attached to each publication. The change comes as AI-generated content takes up more space on the platform. According to an analysis by an AI detection tool cited by The Verge, 41% of the long-form LinkedIn posts it studied were flagged as fully AI-generated. LinkedIn is also going beyond user reports. The company says it has improved its automated systems for identifying AI content and removed a feature that allowed users to enhance their posts with AI. According to LinkedIn's chief product officer, users are now seeing 40% fewer posts that the platform classifies as AI slop compared with just a few weeks earlier. LinkedIn will also start warning some people when other users report that one of their posts seems AI-generated. What makes this interesting is that LinkedIn is beginning to treat some uses of AI as a quality problem. Earlier this year, the platform had already announced plans to crack down on comments produced at scale with little or no human involvement. That wraps up this week's AI Roundup. Julian will be back on Sunday with a new interview in English or in French, and I'll return for the next news digest soon. If you're enjoying the show, those 5-star ratings really help. See you soon.